Hey everyone, I'm Amanda, and this is Mommy's Reading Chair. All right, May has come and gone, and it was a very unusual month for me. I had planned to read my 5 books as usual. It wasn't an overwhelming amount of reading. However, I've had some issues with my eyes. I have an eye doctor appointment on June 2nd. That's the soonest they could get me in, and I just had a really difficult time reading. So that being said, I actually only was able to complete 4 of the 5 books, and it was really disappointing because I actually really wanted to read all 5 books. I decided to cut one of them that was the least interesting to me. So that's the bad news. I do actually have some good news too. The good news is of the 4 books I read, 3 of them I gave 5 stars to. It's like unheard of. It was such a great reading month. And I have to say, I doubt the 5th book that I decided to drop. I doubt it would have been 5 stars. I did start that book and I was bored about 100 pages in. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's not that bad. But 3 5-star books, that's crazy. I mean, I started off the month of May reading Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. This was my 5-star prediction book, and I was right. I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. I have a lot of people I know who did not like Thunderhead as much as they liked Scythe. I liked them both so very much. I'm thrilled to eventually get to The Toll. I'm hoping June will be the month for that. But yeah, it was phenomenal. I loved the continuation of that story. I loved how it ended on a cliffhanger. I have absolutely no idea where it's going. I didn't have any idea where it was going when I started that book. I thought it was excellent. 5 out of 5 stars, so good. And I can't really get too much into it if you haven't read the first book. I know it's a really popular trilogy right now, so you may have, but I absolutely adored it. After that, I went into The Kitchen House, which was my book club pick. And this book was also highly recommended to me by my mother-in-law, and it was insane. This book also was 5 out of 5 stars, and it was just one thing after another. This book was just jam-packed with so much stuff. It follows a character named Lavinia, who is an Irish immigrant, and she was unfortunately orphaned on her journey to America in the 1700s, and she wound up being taken by a man that was on the ship and kind of indentured at that point at this big plantation house. And he was a very nice character. I actually really liked him, and he basically put her in the care of Belle, who was an African-American slave on this plantation. And so the story goes back and forth between Lavinia's point of view and Belle's point of view. And you come to find out that Belle is not just an ordinary slave from that time period. She is actually the illegitimate daughter of this master. And there's a whole big misunderstanding because the master's wife doesn't know that that is his child. And he gives attention to Belle, of course, because he does love her. And the master's wife is just like jealous of her and thinks that they're having an affair when it's really his daughter. And then like his son is just awful, and he's going through all of this mess with his tutor. And then, Lavinia, she's just this wonderful, naive, innocent character, and she grows up and she winds up marrying someone, and it's just a big snowball from that point forward. I cannot recommend this more highly than that. You have to read it. There is actually a sequel to it, and I will most definitely be reading that probably in June, actually. Spoiler alert, I will give you that heads up. I'll probably be reading it in June. 5 out of 5 stars. It's phenomenal. After that, I picked up Lies She Told by Kate Hallahan, and this one was just okay. It was really short, so I read it in like less than 48 hours. I read it really fast. It was a very quick read, and it wasn't bad, but it was very predictable. So the concept behind it is really interesting, in my opinion. It's a thriller where the narrator goes back and forth between the narrator and the character the narrator is writing. The narrator herself is an author, and she's writing this book. And in her real life, her husband is a lawyer, and her lawyer's partner, business partner, is missing. And so there's this whole big investigation, and of course he's really upset and she's really upset. They're also trying to start a family, and there's like stress there. And then it goes back and forth between the character she's writing, and the character she's writing has a similar name to her, and all of these things that she's writing about are eerily similar to what is happening in real life. And again, it was pretty predictable, but I didn't hate it. It didn't bother me that it was predictable, but it certainly didn't blow me away. I wound up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars, and if you're looking for a quick thriller, I certainly would recommend it. After that, I started to read The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, and that's when my eyes started to really, really bother me. I get this like pain behind my eyes, and I get headaches, and I absolutely know it's because I need a new prescription for these lenses. And I'm way overdue for an eye doctor appointment. But with this whole coronavirus, COVID-19 stuff, everything's been pushed, and long story short, I have an appointment in a few days. But it did slow me down. Fortunately, The Miniaturist is available on Scribd as an audiobook. So I listened to it, and I didn't expect this book to be as amazing as it was. It started off actually a little bit difficult to read because I started reading the actual book first, and there were a lot of Dutch words. It takes place in Amsterdam in the 1600s, which is a time period and a location I read very little, if anything, actually, about. And so it follows this character named Petronella, who she goes by Nella, and she is 18 years old, and she marries, it was arranged that she would marry this very wealthy merchant trader in Amsterdam, and she's just this farm girl. And she's super excited, of course, and she goes to the home, and it is just not at all what she expects. And in this home, she's living with her new husband, Johannes, his brother, Marin, his manservant, Otto, and the maid, Cornelia. And they're just kind of this hodgepodge group of people, and she's trying to kind of figure out why Marin, specifically her sister-in-law, is kind of overbearing and negative, and she's, for that time period, for her to be unmarried, it was a little unusual, and she felt a little uneasy. And her husband then gives her this massive cabinet, which is kind of a replica of their home, and he says fill it with miniatures to, I guess, occupy your time, because he does travel a lot as a trader. And so she seeks out the business of a miniaturist via letters, and she gets these amazing, just beautiful little pieces. But these little pieces have kind of some information or hints as to things that are about to happen, or things that the miniaturist couldn't possibly know. I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to give away, much more than that. But it was so good. There was one section I was a little disappointed in, specifically the identity of the miniaturist. I was a little disappointed in, but honestly, it wasn't enough for me to knock it down any more stars. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I do recommend listening to it as an audiobook. I think the narrator's really good, and so those Dutch words I never would have pronounced right in my head. So it was a really good listen. So, and again, that's The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton. So that's it. I only wrapped up 4 books this month. What a pity. But I am excited to get some new glasses. Hopefully I can start off June on the right foot. I have a feeling I'm going to have to leave these bad boys and get them updated for my aging eyeballs. Make sure to hit subscribe and ring that bell for notifications, and I'll see you next time.